Coming up today, the top diplomats of South Korea, the United States and Japan discuss countermeasures against North Korea in light of the regime's recent nuclear tests. The United States is reeling after being hit by 3 terror attacks in a single day. With the race for the White House heating up, the attacks could have an impact on the race between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. First, Korea's Chun In-gee makes history, shooting the lowest score at a major to claim victory at the final major of the 2016 LPGA season in France. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Monday, the 19th of September. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this afternoon: South Korea, the United States and Japan have vowed to work on stronger and more comprehensive measures to prevent further North Korean provocations in light of Pyongyang's recent nuclear tests. Meeting in New York on Sunday, the top diplomats of the 3 countries also discussed new unilateral sanctions on the regime. Kwon Soo-ah starts us off.
South Korea, the U.S. and Japan issued their first joint statement on North Korea since 2010 after their meeting Sunday on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. It said they would closely coordinate policies and expand collaboration in the wake of North Korea's second nuclear test this year and the regime's series of ballistic missile launches. South Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se emphasized North Korea's nuclear test on September 9th was the strongest ever conducted by the regime.
The recent nuclear test by Pyongyang provided ample proof that its nuclear program has neared the tipping point. Moreover, the test frequency was significantly reduced from 3 years to 8 months.
Minister Yoon and his U.S. and Japanese counterparts also agreed to work on ensuring that the international community fully implements existing sanctions. They discussed further unilateral and multilateral methods to deter North Korea's nuclear ambitions, in addition to the UN Security Council's ongoing talks on a new resolution.
The international society is required to initiate a different response. The US, South Korea and Japan must be in the driving seat to lead the international debate.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry once again stated that dialogue with North Korea is only viable under the following premise.
That we are prepared to sit down with the DPRK, providing North Korea is prepared to talk with the rest of the world about responsible approaches to the question of nuclear weaponry.
The North Korean issue was also the focus of bilateral talks between Minister Yoon and his Japanese counterpart on the same day. South Korea's top diplomat will give a keynote speech at the UN General Assembly, which should include a strong message to North Korea, with the North's Foreign Minister Lee Yong-ho in attendance. Kwon Soo-ah, Arirang News.
A group of U.S. senators is calling on President Barack Obama to impose stronger sanctions on North Korea as punishment for its 5th nuclear test. 19 senators, led by Cory Gardner, sent a letter to Obama on Sunday local time, expressing concern over the North's announcement of a successful nuclear test and called for stronger sanctions on the regime. They also called for tougher sanctions on entities suspected of assisting Pyongyang, especially those based in China, North Korea's largest trading partner. The letter also called for the swift deployment of the THAAD missile defense system to South Korea and stronger cooperation between South Korea, the US and Japan. Washington has vowed stronger sanctions on the regime in the wake of the North's recent nuclear test. Now, starting today, customers in Korea who bought the Galaxy Note 7 will be able to get replacements for their Samsung smartphone, which had been recalled due to battery overheating problems. The replacements will be available at the retail outlets of Korea's 3 main telecom companies. Kim Hae-sung has the details.
Samsung Electronics has started providing replacements for its Galaxy Note 7 smartphones in Korea. The move comes 2 weeks after the company announced a massive recall of its large-screen smartphones in 10 countries on September 2nd amid reports of its batteries exploding or catching fire while charging. Around 400,000 Note 7 smartphones have been sold in Korea, and users of the phone can get the same color replacement at Korea's 3 main mobile carriers, SK, LG U+, and KT, just by bringing in their device. Customers are advised to check with their service provider before bringing in their phones, as the replacements will follow a strict schedule based on the date the devices were activated. SK and KT customers can get replacements at the store where they made the purchase, and LG U+ customers can get their new devices at any store in the country. The new Galaxy Note 7 handsets show the battery charging icon in green rather than the original white to differentiate it from the old ones. Monday is also the last day for Galaxy Note 7 consumers who either want a refund or who want to cancel their service without a fee. Samsung started the recall process in Singapore on Friday and will start recalling phones in the US on Wednesday. The world's biggest smartphone maker said it will expand the recall program to other countries later this month and will start selling the Note 7 again on September 28th. But with Apple's new iPhone 7 series a hit with consumers and LG set to unveil its new V20 smartphone, it remains to be seen how Samsung will get itself through the Note 7 crisis. Kim Hae-sung, Arirang News.
Now, Koreans women golfers continue to show the world they are the ones to beat. This time it was Chun In-gee taking the spoils at the final LPGA event of the season. Her victory was all the more amazing as she made major history. Ian Shin reports.
Heavy rain may have soaked the fairways, but Mother Nature didn't stop golfing history being made at the final LPGA event of the season. Korea's Chun In-gee did it in breathtaking fashion on Sunday, winning the Evian Championship in France with the lowest ever under-par total in a major, be it male or female. The 22-year-old stunned fans with a 21 under par 263 over 72 holes, cruising to a 4-shot victory over her fellow countrywomen Yoo So-yeon and Park Sung-yeon. The title gives Chun her second major title following her win at the 2015 U.S. Women's Open. She also jumps 4 spots in the world rankings from 7th to 3rd. Although finishing in a tie for 43rd, Korean-born New Zealander Lydia Ko remains the world's #1 with the best combined record at all 5 majors. Ian Shin, Arirang News.
Terror struck the United States over the weekend with 3 attacks in New York City, New Jersey and Minnesota. Dozens of people were injured, but no one was killed. The incidents have put the nation on edge with less than 2 months to go before the U.S. presidential election. Kim Mo-kyun reports.
On Saturday, less than a week after the U.S. observed the 15th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, 3 different acts of terror rocked the country. In New York City, a bomb exploded in the Manhattan neighborhood of Chelsea, injuring 29 people. Authorities said the blast was caused by an explosive device in or near what appeared to be a dumpster or garbage container. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio said the explosion was an intentional act, but insisted there was no specific threat against New York City from any terror organization.
We know from everything we've seen so far that this was an intentional act. I want to reaffirm what I said last night. But again, we do not know the motivation. We do not know the nature of it. That's what we have to do more work on.
Shortly after the blast, police knife dogs uncovered a second bomb nearby, a pressure cooker with wiring attached. Pressure cookers were used in the 2 bombs detonated at the Boston Marathon in 2013. About 11 hours before the bombing in New York, a pipe bomb blew up inside a garbage can in Seaside Park, New Jersey, shortly before a scheduled charity race. Fortunately, no one was wounded. In another incident, a Somali attacker who made references to Allah stabbed and wounded 9 people inside a mall in Minnesota. The attacker, who was shot dead by an off-duty police officer, asked at least 1 victim if they were Muslim. The following day, the so-called Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the Minnesota attack, saying the operation was carried out by one of its, quote, soldiers. The terror group made no similar claims about the incidents in New York and New Jersey. The acts of terror come less than 2 months ahead of the November 8 election. Responding to the bombing in New York City, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump said the U.S. should get very tough, smart, and vigilant towards such acts. His Democratic rival Hillary Clinton condemned the attacks, but said it was wiser to wait for more information before jumping into conclusions. Kim Mo-kyan, Arirang News.
So, with the U.S. presidential election fast approaching, Republican nominee Donald Trump and his Democratic rival Hillary Clinton are locked in a tight race. That means the televised debates that start next week could be more crucial than ever in determining who will prevail in the race for the Oval Office. Oh Jung-hee has more.
With just about 50 days to go before Americans vote for their next president, the race is harder to predict than ever. The latest LA Times tracking poll shows Republican nominee Donald Trump leading his Democratic rival Hillary Clinton by almost 7 points, 47.7% to 41. That's the largest gap between the two since a 7.3% gap during the Republican Party convention in July. The LA Times poll out on September 12th showed the two candidates in a near tie with 44.4% for Clinton to Trump's 44.1%. Since then, support for Trump has risen as support for Clinton has waned. Other polls show the two nominees locked in a tight race. A Fox News poll taken about a week ago shows Trump topping Clinton by 1 point at 46% to 45%, though the same poll had Clinton with a 6-point lead at the end of August. A recent New York Times poll shows Clinton with a slight edge of 2 points over Trump at 46% to 44%. Clinton has been facing tough questions about her health after she took ill at a 9/11 memorial event, and Trump is gaining in support from African-American voters. After a summer where Clinton appeared to be surging to an insurmountable lead, the gap between the two has narrowed to the point where most would say it's now too close to call. Tens of millions of viewers are expected to tune in to the presidential debates that get underway starting next Monday, as the events could help determine who will win the White House in November. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
The curtain has officially come down on the 2016 Paralympics in Rio. China dominated this year's games with a staggering 107 gold medals, followed by Great Britain with 64 and Ukraine with 41. Winning 7 golds, South Korea finished 20th in the medal standings. Team Korea's star performer was 21-year-old swimmer Jo Ki-sung, who brought home 3 gold medals. Kim Kyu-dae also snatched bronze in the marathon on the final day of the Paralympics. The closing ceremony included a tribute for an Iranian athlete who died after a crash in a cycling road race. Next on the Olympic calendar is the 2018 Winter Games, which will be held in South Korea's alpine town of Pyeongchang in just over 500 days from now. Foreign investors are continuing to snap up Korean shares. Overseas investors were net buyers on the benchmark Kospi and tech-heavy Kosdaq for a third month on the bounce in August. Korea's Financial Supervisory Service says offshore investors increased their holdings by $1.6 billion last month. As of the end of August, they owned over $415 billion worth of listed shares, close to a record high set in April 2015. Foreign investment also accounted for 30.5% of the aggregate value of listed stock, topping the 30% mark for the first time in 15 months. Korea's green car market has seen rapid growth in the first half of the year, even surpassing that of Germany. According to data from the Korea Automobile Manufacturers Association, Korean manufacturers of environmentally friendly cars sold a combined 26,000 cars locally in the first 6 months of the year. That is up a whopping 64% from the same period last year. German producers sold just over 25,000 vehicles in Germany, up 21% over the cited period. Now, the large increase in sales of eco-friendly cars by Korean car makers was attributed to recently launched hybrid models like Hyundai's Ioniq and Kia's Niro. Sales of the two models combined surpassed 13,000 units in the first 6 months of this year. Now, sea and land warnings have been issued for Jeju Island, which is under the influence of Typhoon Malakas. As of 4 a.m. this morning, the weather agency in Jeju had replaced wind and wave warnings issued for the southern seas with a typhoon watch. A strong wind warning was issued for the entire island at 6 a.m. in addition to a high seas watch previously issued for coastal waters and heavy rain warnings for parts of the island. Now, Typhoon Malakas is travelling at 19 kilometres per hour and was moving northward about 500 kilometres south of the Sogui coastline earlier today. In China, authorities there have warned of high waves and strong winds from a new typhoon lashing the mainland there. Typhoon Moranti, the strongest storm to hit China this year, has left 28 people dead and 15 others missing in the eastern part of the country. Well, those are the stories we are following on this Monday afternoon here in Seoul. For more of the latest, don't forget to check out the website arirang.com/news. Have a great day and a wonderful start to the week. Goodbye.